The Northwest was an exotic place even before Puget Sound's birth. 100 million years ago, it was much warmer than it is today. Palm trees dotted the landscape. Dinosaurs munched on the leaves and on each other. About that time, great changes began to take place deep beneath the Earth. The floor of the Pacific Ocean began to collide with the North American continent. Something had to give, so the ground buckled, thrusting up the Cascade Mountains. That buckling continued, and the Olympic Mountains were formed, leaving a valley in between. Climate changed, and the Ice Age began. A great sheet of ice moved south from Canada, carving a valley 900 feet deep in places. The glacier began to melt, the Pacific Ocean flowed in, and that valley became a fjord.
The Snohomish Indians called the fjord Hoolge, but the British explorer Captain George Vancouver found that a difficult name to pronounce. He called it Puget Sound, honoring his lieutenant Peter Puget. Those early explorers discovered a pristine system of canals and inlets, enriched by mountain streams and rivers. Their waters carry many of the minerals essential to life in the Sound, nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates, scoured by erosion from the riverbeds. That water is warmed by sunlight and stirred by the tides, giving birth to the biological broth called plankton. A thimbleful of water holds a universe of plant and animal life, revealed by the inquiring eye of the microscope. It's a place of unexpected color, rivaling the stained glass masterpieces of the great cathedrals. Behind that beauty is the urgency of survival. The plankton world is where animals first begin to feed on plants and on each other. It's the foundation of the food chain which feeds man. And it's a world to which most of us are painfully ignorant. Yet locked in these tiny life forms is the key to our own survival. Plant plankton alone produce through photosynthesis more than 3/4 of the air we breathe. Anything which damages this delicate community endangers everything which lives in or near the Sound. This dive boat is leaving Anacortes for the San Juan Islands. Virtually unpolluted by the industrial runoff and sewage so common elsewhere, the islands are surrounded by an abundance of plankton. That supports a diversity of life matched by few areas in this country. A diver's first impression underwater is that of a bountiful garden. That garden-like appearance gave rise to many of the names here, like the sea lettuce, which sways in the current, stretching to the limits of visibility. Grazing in the beds of sea lettuce below is the sea cucumber, an animal which looks like a cross between a prickly pear and a misshapen banana. A close relative to the cucumber is the sea gherkin. Much more colorful than the pickle it's named after, the gherkin snags its food with lace-like tentacles, slowly moving the catch back to its mouth. The colorful sea anemone also sits and lets its prey come to it. A soft relative of the tropical coral, the anemone may live alone or in massive colonies. If anything comes close to matching the anemone's brilliant colors, it's the starfish, which comes in countless shapes and sizes. The giant is the sunflower star. It moves at a snail's pace, grasping its food with the help of thousands of tiny tube feet. The average sunflower star is as big as a young octopus. No garden would be complete without slugs. This colorful nudibranch is Puget Sound's version of the garden slug. The beauty of these reef animals makes it easy to forget that life in this undersea garden requires the survival skills of the jungle. The law is eat or be eaten, and the reef inhabitants here have developed many unique defenses. The crab, for example, is built like a tank, carrying its suit of armor on an endless scavenger hunt for food. The sea urchin has developed the same defense as the porcupine. It moves its quills like a battery of cannon, swiveling needle-sharp tips toward the attacker. This diver just returned from 80 feet, where he claims to have seen a dancing clam. Crazy? Possibly, but there's only one way to be sure. The diver was partially right. He did see something dance. It wasn't a clam, they don't do that. It was a jet-propelled scallop, which moves like an animated castanet. Moving away from the reef, we encounter the barren seafloor. But like any desert, the bottom has its oases of life. The quill-like sea pen, the hide-and-go-seek sole, and the sea's version of the desert mirage. The ship in the distance isn't any mirage. It's the wreck of an old tugboat. Like the hundreds of other wrecks in Puget Sound, it's been adopted as a home by fish of every conceivable shape and size, ranging from the China rockfish to the seven-gill shark. Most of these fish have little choice but to run when confronted by a diver. The exception is one of their grotesque cousins, uniquely well adapted to fight humans and to win. Beneath the sheer cliffs of Port Angeles live creatures well equipped for arguments with divers. They are the wolf eels, snake-like animals 8 feet long, armed with razor-sharp teeth and a nasty reputation.
Go ahead.
Diver Rick Brock gingerly tries to tempt this one out with a broken sea urchin. To our surprise, we find they have excellent table manners. They took our food without removing a single finger. But suddenly the mood turned ugly. Two males gave us proof of their ability to retaliate when angered. The fight resolved, the two combatants slink off to their dens. Fights are an everyday fact of life in the sea. There are winners and there are losers.